and it will eventually bring the kind of peace to one in Nigeria. That is not going to happen, and that will be something that will eventually kill so many people. That expectation is very, very high. Mokiwalen can say at exactly 3:22 a.m. where I will take you through why Nigeria should not be a country you should expect too much from. This expectation is going to disappoint you in the long run. So you are better off to get the fact now before it is too late. Oti disappoints a generation come, and it is not going to make our own generation a better place. This expectation that Nigeria will be the country. Good morning to those of you that have joined the transmission. The expectation by so many Nigerians that it will become a great place for every single one of us. It is not going to happen because Nigeria is a failed nation, and this is the reason why we continue to highlight and educate many of you. I understand that many of you will not want to accept the truth, because truth could be very, very bitter. But that does not stop people like us from explaining the truth to you. I know that the generation hope is that things will change, and that will literally mean that whatever tea and Sonny Bugba, it will not come to pass. But everybody knows it's going to come to pass. It's just that everybody is waiting for when exactly our talk that Nigeria is not going to work. So many people are waiting for when exactly it's going to happen. But it is already happening in our lifetime. I mean, you just have to look around and ask yourself the truth. Mokibubuale can say, my name is Olayomi Koiki of Koikimedia. One out of so many Yorubas that believe that for the sake of peace that everybody is asking for, the sovereignty of Nigeria presently must now be reviewed so that we can be able to move what we have forward. Tí àbá tí allow kí yẹn kó ṣẹlẹ̀, then the danger is still going to be with us. But we should allow Nigeria to dissolve now as quickly as possible, because it is holding many people backwards. It is not going to give you what you expect. The expectation of many Nigerians is that things will change in due course. Opportunity will be given as Nigerians, that people would have opportunity. But as this comes in mind and in play, disappointment will start kicking in. Maybe not today, maybe not even the next few more years. But I want to see what you are disappointed. Mostly are like our parents. Most of our parents have been disappointed in what is called the Project Nigeria. Many of them worked hard in the hope that the country they were giving birth to, the expectation was very high. People like our parents, especially those that their parents are still alive, to tell them that Nigeria really disappointed them a lot. But many of our people today will still disagree that Nigeria is not going to disappoint them. And that is why you see them trying to fix a political party that care less about whether your life will be a better place. That is why so many people will end up voting, and you will not get the dividends of governance in your local government. Nigeria has 774 local government, and each of these local government is not functioning because the expectation from Nigerian is that it's going to fix their problem. And this is why we are highlighting the Yoruba sovereignty as against the Nigeria sovereignty. The Nigerian sovereignty has gone past its due date, and it is not likely to work anymore. Whether we like that word that it is not going to work, which a lot of Yoruba people and many Nigerians do not want to accept the truth, does not literally mean that we cannot live together as neighbors. But many Nigerians believe that, especially the elite, their expectation is that Nigeria would come back as a very powerful nation, and it will be a major player in the global community. I was told the same thing, even told that Betwe is the food basket of Nigeria, only for us now to realize that is a great lie, because the food basket was also the biggest terrorist depot that so many Nigerians eventually lost their lives. So if you're still of this opinion, view that the greatness of Nigeria is coming, remember that that is the British artificial state. I understand that the British is not going to tell you that because their views will be different from ours, especially knowing that we are becoming much more engaged with our people back home. These dreams that Nigerians are waiting for, the new Nigeria, as some of your religious centers have been telling you, all these is going to disappoint you. Just as my mom, your parents, your grandparents were all disappointed. I was having a conversation with my mom on Saturday as mother to son, and she was telling me that the last order she did before my dad passed on in the 80s was equivalent to $60,000 with Filtex. Some of you might know that is if your parents are in the clothing industry, buying from I think Australia. Austria. Filtex is like a company that produce the textile that our parents and your parents will put on, but some people have to go and buy it because even as at that time Nigeria was not producing anything. So that literally means that our parents have to travel to outside Nigeria láti lọ ra àwọn nǹkan tí wọ́n ń tà, which is still the same thing happening today. Because Nigeria is not producing anything. We've told you that so many times. The consumer are Nigerians, but the producer are the West. Few things are produced in Nigeria, but when we look at the large proportion of what we need as people on a daily basis, most of these things will not be produced in Nigeria, up to the crude oil that we own, but we are not the producer of the crude oil. So that literally means that we have good amount of crude oil across Nigeria, but we do not have the refinery to make it up and running. And that has become strenuous because it is sucking the wealth that should be used to develop the communities, to develop Nigerians, your skills, to provide the basic amenities of life, electricity, healthcare, education, to give you just a little bit of hope. So many Nigerians are expecting that the hope would happen. It does not matter whatever we are saying, because you have a political party that is in care of the failed country called Nigeria. But the difference that we are asking for is that we want the Yoruba sovereignty to happen, and to happen very, very fast, so that we can develop the spirit in us, so that we can be able to provide the services that this country called Nigeria could not provide for you, depending on your age bracket. For the last 40 years, it has always been my parents that have taken care of me before I left Nigeria some 25 years ago. So that means while I was in Nigeria for a very long time, I was never given opportunity to be taken care of in Nigeria, not even up to when I was sick. I mean, some of us had the privilege to a private hospital, but majority don't have that access today. And that is the reason why we have asked the question, what actually is the role of this entity called Nigeria? Kí ni iṣẹ́ tí ẹ gangan? Iṣẹ́ wo gan lẹ kí Nigeria ṣe fún yín? Iṣẹ́ wo gangan ni Nigeria gbà? And when I say that, I talk about everything from your political parties to those in charge of the day-to-day affairs of what is called Nigeria. This narrative has been going on for decades, but till date, we still don't have a clear answer, apart from the fact that every 4 years since 1999, billions and billions of naira is pumped into the campaign trail, which end up to be the jamboree that we see. And after that jamboree, as we can see now, everything is gone quiet. And Nigerians are asking question again, what is going on? Why is the economy not going back on track? Even those that expect the economy to come back would be eventually disappointed, because these expectation that the economy is going to bounce back is too late. The economy of Nigeria is not going to bounce back. Mo kí gbogbo wa lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí tí a ti ń darapọ̀. It is the late night for those that are still awake and those that will watch it later on as well. I do not have a time to tell you I'm coming out. When you're live with me, you will be able to watch, and when you come back, you would also be able to watch it later. But for now, sorry, I've actually messed up something here. Okay. Mokiwawa, as I always say, and I welcome you once again. Yoruba nation that we are campaigning and we are asking for is the right opportunity to change the narratives of what we have been told for 60 years in terms of the failed country that was put together as a project. Nigeria is a project, and everybody will continue to do whatever they like to do within that project. They can try so many things, from pharmaceutical testing to using Nigerians as experts around the world. That means that I will come and need you, just like I am currently living and residing here in UK, where I have in the last 25 years. So that means the energy and the strength that I should have put into Nigeria as a citizen, I am using that outside Nigeria presently. And I don't think some of you understand that. Let me rephrase that. Gbogbo akitiyan tèmi ṣe nílùú UK for 25 years. That inú Nigeria ló yẹ kí n ti máa ṣe tó bá jẹ́ pé Nigeria ṣiṣẹ́. That means ó yẹ kí n ṣe tán ní university. That's even if I go to university, because going to university doesn't mean anything anyway. Because we realize that only after we go to Europe, that most of our they are not university graduates. They are not even college graduates. Some of them are just off the radar, came to work, and they became managers than those of us like the university degree, Danny. So going to university is just to educate yourself if you can afford it. But what they've done in the UK is a complete different thing entirely. They've allowed what they called work experience become much better than in Tolosi University. And we've seen that anyway in Nigeria. Many of you have graduated, but you don't have any jobs till date. You are still struggling. So, and the reason for that is because that sovereignty that you call Nigeria, which is mean that is not truly a sovereign nation, is a nation with multiple different nations, whether it's 3 or 4, 5, 8, 10 nations put together. So our mentality, our thinking is not going to allow the functionality of Nigeria. That is why everyone is we are marginalizing each other. The hatred is there. You can't take away the hatred. Even the English hate the Scottish, and I am not joking. The Scottish hate the Welsh. It is just human being. But is it possible to live together in the course of the hatred? Maybe, to some extent. I have been following some of the English nationalities. The English, and when I say the English, I want to just be pure English. They are becoming frustrated with the amount of immigrants that wants to penetrate into their society, their community, and they are protesting against it every day to their government. And their government is responding bit by bit. And that is the reason why the immigration law is changing almost every month. One of the priorities of the UK government when it comes to immigration is to make sure that those that will come to UK must have a genuine reason to get into this country. And that led to the Prime Minister about 72 hours ago telling us that there will be increase in the UK visa fees, not for Nigeria alone, but for global community around the world. The reason for that is because anybody call us UK. If you're gonna make it to UK, like I have made it in 25 years, they want the best of Nigerians that can do magic, and we have them a lot. And I'll give you an example that I got a bit of information about another Nigerian from Ogun State performing wonders in the UK in the NHS. He's a surgeon, and I think from what I was told yesterday, he has only arrived in this country very, very less time, not like somebody like me, but he's well qualified before he left Nigeria, because many Nigerians are well qualified, overqualified. A lot of you have what the British need, but not every one of us. Those in the rural areas, the British don't need you, but they want me to bring the NGO to you to sort out the little I can in terms of the SDG code, or the SDG, as we are being told by the United Nations. Yeah, the SDG goals. Maybe some of you don't know that. I will remind you again. This is what the British expect me to be doing so that I can help my community in Ijebu-Ode, in any part of Yoruba land, rather than asking for a Yoruba sovereign nation. Because if I'm able to give you the one out of the 17 SDG goals, that literally means that I am performing humanitarian support. I don't see that as a way out to the current crisis in Nigeria. The British expect me to set up a charity. If I'm able to get funding from the British government, even as small as £10,000, I could bring that to any community within Nigeria, especially the Northeast, which the West thinks that is the only part of Nigeria that is in abject poverty. Maybe they are not aware that in my local government in Fidipote, there is more Nigerians, Yorubas, that cannot eat 3 square meals. But because the West are projected that the Northwest, the Northeast is the only crisis, and that literally means that they want us to fund more into that sector. And I can easily set up a charity here because I have the right to live in this country. I am going to be different from you that wants to get in today, whether through business, visa, visiting, student. Until you have a full residential permit, there are certain things you can do and you cannot do in this country. But I could set up a business and call it Koikimedia Charity, register it in UK, then request for funding from the British government, and I will give them that I need that fund láti fi supporti Fidipote, and they will look at it, and if it's worth approving, they will approve it. But do you think that that can solve the current state of situation to one in Nigeria presently? The West believe that that is the only way we can help you in terms of what the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals expect. Some of you will never, till you die, and it's not a curse, you will not enjoy the 17 SDG goals. Not even one of them, the major part, you will never. I know it's a little bit harsh, but it is the reality. Your government will tell you they are trying based on the current economic situation of things around the world. And we can understand the world is currently full of stress economic wise. Inflation is not just alone in Nigeria. For those of you that probably don't know, inflation is affecting Turkey. Maybe you don't know that. The lira in Turkey continue to depreciate on a daily basis. Nigerians are probably not seeing that, but Nigerians that are operating for one reason or the other from Turkey will tell you that the lira is actually going down faster than the economy of the Turkish government or the Turkey economy. Remember that Turkey, as an example, quote and unquote, also is still a powerful country around the world with a population presently of somewhere around, as at 2021, Turkey is just under 85 million with 84.78 million people. But do you know that they can still afford bread? Maybe some of you don't know that. I've been there before, and I have people that lives there. So one thing some of you don't understand is that as their money, Owo Turkey, which is called lira, L-I-R-A, is going down too fast, but they can still afford to go out and buy bread. Let me then ask the question, and I'm not talking about one person. Every person in Turkey, poor, rich, middle class, average, they can afford the bread. 2 years ago, the bread was just under 1 lira. Today, the same bread is costing almost 6 lira. And the size of that loaf of bread is almost like this. It's like that. My question is that èèyàn mélòó ní Nigeria tó jẹ́ tálákà ló lè jẹ bread? That is part of the SDG goals, because the SDG goal, which I'm going to read all the 17 quickly, and I want you to take notes, is what the United Nations expect you as a citizen of any country around the world to be provided by your government. But because Nigeria is not the kind of country that everybody thinks it is, these 17 goals is not going to happen in our lifetime in Nigeria. These 17 goals, Timofekai, títí tó máa fi jáde láyé nínú Nigeria ò ní bá pàdé, is not a cause. Some of you will probably just about elevate a little bit, not too much. Because before I read that, I was listening to Baba Rokbori yesterday, and his guest said exactly the same thing I discuss here every day. Bàbá tí wọ́n gbé wá sórí program yẹn ní ìyàwó òun ní di 1,500 naira láti fi jẹun every blessed day. If you do not have these, equivalent to less than $2, which the United Nations expect, you need 2 of these. $2, equivalent to 1,500. Kò pé 2,000 gone. Probably by the time we look at the exchange rate today, dollar is about 800 or thereabout. So you need about 1,006. So let's even factor that you need 2,000 naira. Tó o bá ti lè nílé lójoojúmọ́, Monday to Sunday, not for anything but just to eat, count yourself as people in abject poverty in Nigeria. get this clear. I am not talking about pé kò ní 10,000 naira lẹ́nìí kó dọ̀là kí 10,000 yẹn ti tán bó kò má wá rí 1,500 yọ nínú ẹ̀. You must have these 1,500 naira equivalent to 2 of these dollars for 365 days. Now, your government is meant to cover the cost of making sure that not everybody will be able to afford to do $2. Government yìí láti support, make sure that they can provide some of these SDG goals. Number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. I'll try to do some explanation on each one of them as much as I can based on my knowledge. When the word you hear end poverty, do you think that Nigeria can end poverty in the space of 4 years of this government? Not that we hate this government, not that we have anything against the government. This government is not the only cause of the damage of Nigeria. It has been caused since 1999. It has been like that since 1960. It has been like that prior before the 1914 amalgamation. So gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ expect me this miracle because one man that looks like me and you, which in reality, if we look at each one of us, you can see that the new person as a government literally looks like us. He speaks like us because that's what we want. We want somebody that speaks like us and don't sort of be what. Some of you probably get tired with me speaking English sometimes because if you're Yoruba nation like you don't say English for our boy. So Yoruba kagbon koton so. Because I am just like you. Some of you are not even comfortable watching any other program because you feel like this is the program that you can watch. Afitabasi on air, you will just go another place. Literally, we feel the same way. I'm asking the question again. In 2023 up to 2027, do you literally think that you will be able to afford this for the next 4 years of this government? You need just this, about 1,005. Do you think that you can afford it? Ask yourself that question. You don't have to tell me. If you can afford it for the next 4 years, every blessed day, you're not going to be part of the people I'm talking to. But this is not the only thing that we're talking about now. That is just again one out of the other issues. This is just for food. By the time you now want to educate yourself, you're not going to need 1,005. You need a lot of money to educate yourself. In Nigeria, I mean, if I'm going to educate myself here, I don't need a lot of money. I just need to know that the services to support my education is there, whether through the loan, whether through grant, whether through even online reading, free education. There are a lot of free education online, but you will not be able to do exactly what I can do, subject to a lot of other restrictions that I will talk about in the course of the program. So if you think that when I say, can you survive in the next 4 years, we should survive, I am not talking about oúnjẹ nìkan. At some point, as human beings, we are meant to break down. At some point, there will be other situations that would arise. Whether you have a children or not, whether you have elderly person or not, you would also need a good, healthy situation. Can you guarantee that to be sick, Laroy, you can walk into your general hospital and you'll be treated without asking to pay for registration fee? I have not added that to the 1,005. That is why you, as Nigerians, you have been put into the capital poverty of the world. Maybe you don't know that. There, oh, body. We have 195 countries ní gbogbo àgbáyé. Nigeria ni number 1 tí ó jẹ́ ibi tí kò sí àṣeyọrí in terms of poverty wise. O lè máa rí tán náà ń kọ́ building kan, wọ́n ń kọ́ hospital kan, wọ́n tún títì ṣe, wọ́n ṣe this, wọ́n ṣe that. That does not imply that the country has been removed from the capital poverty of the world. It's a fact. It does not matter the miracle and the presentation, the analysis taking place on the political terrain on the ground. It does not matter how many Oyinbo people you see on your TV telling you it will be better. They have not removed Nigeria from the capital poverty of the world. And some of the reason is, again, let's go into the 17 goals. Number 1, you must end poverty in all its forms and everywhere. Number 2, very, very key. Number 2, igongon ló ń dá wàhálà sílẹ̀ lẹ́ni. Ló dẹ̀ máa dá wàhálà sílẹ̀ lọ́la. Forget about pé lórúkọ Jésù kò ní dá wàhálà sílẹ̀. Inshallah kò ní dá wàhálà sílẹ̀. Wàhálà yẹn ti wà ready. Kò dẹ̀ likely kó kúrò nínú ẹ̀. Máa ní òun praise eléyìí. Kò ń ṣe tí yóò praise. It is just the normal norm that is going to happen. You will feel it. You will touch it. You would all expect it to remain the same because the economy of Nigeria is dead. Number 2, end hunger. Ẹ̀pà ebi mọ́nú àbí ká pa ebi. A lot of you don't know what is hunger. That is why you will not listen to Yoruba Nation, because àwọn tó fi sínú ògo yẹn, they are very, very smart. Wọ́n mọ̀ pé tẹ́ bá wà nínú ìyà, tèmi bá bá yín sọ̀rọ̀ kò ní sink in, torí pé o gbọ́dọ̀ lọ bá wọn láàárọ̀ yìí tílẹ̀ bá mọ́ kó fún ẹni 1,000 kò lè fi jẹun lọ́dọ̀ mama put. Tó bá ti jẹ yẹn tán tó ní strength díẹ̀, wà lọ ṣe bí ọmọ ọ̀tá níta. Ẹlòmíì lọ sọ́fíìsì á lọ ṣe ṣìnà. Ẹlòmíì lọ sọ́fíìsì bó ṣe máa jalè. Ẹlòmíì lọ sọ́fíìsì bó ṣe máa yíwèé oníwèé. Ẹlòmíì wà ní bank, ó mọ diaspora tó lówó nínú account, ó wá bó ṣe fẹ́ gbé owó yẹn jáde. Ẹlòmíì wà ó fẹ́ gé orí yín, ó fẹ́ ta ní 45,000 naira. Ẹlòmíì wà ó fẹ́ gun mọ́tò but ó fẹ́ jalè fi gbà ni. So this kind of atrocity is happening because any stability, any stable system to lè solve hunger yẹn. I know that for me to solve the hunger in my house tomorrow morning, which is just under 3 hours from now, my wife has already told me the time to lọ síbi iṣẹ́ láàárọ̀. Yes, my wife goes to work. I am a freelance journalist. That means I spend most of my time indoor. But when I need to report or be outdoor, I'm sure some of you see me. So that means within this household, there's 2 people working. That brings in 1 revenue. But it can't feel fún iṣẹ́ Yoruba Nation. So the revenue to can make have been restricted to some extent. I don't have a problem with that. I know my worth. If I was meant to go and apply, they might not give me the job that I want straight away, but I penetrate wọlé from the back. Mo lè lọ sí BBC, kí ni mo fi máa ṣiṣẹ́ kitchen porter. They will get me in. From there, I will start bit by bit. I penetrate. You might not see me on their big screen, but I'll be within the service that I'll be making probably about 25,000, 30,000 pounds a year. And if I want to do extra job, màá lọ gba mọ́tò Uber, màá fi ṣe weekend, màá fi ṣe ìrọ̀lẹ́. I get 2 jobs. Èmi wá máa ṣe gbogbo wàhálà yẹn, màá dá sí fìdípọ̀tẹ̀ tí kò sí ná, tí kò sí security, torí pé mo fẹ́ kọ́lé sẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ilé bàbá mi. Torí nígbà tí bàbá mi kọ́lé yẹn, ní Fìdípọ̀tẹ̀. Expectation ni pé ibẹ̀ yẹn máa develop. Almost 40 years Fìdípọ̀tẹ̀ ti develop. Bàbá mi ti kú nísìn. Expectation bàbá mi ni pé government máa gbé títì dé ọ̀dọ̀ ẹ̀ so that kò ní jẹ́ pé òun nìkan ni olówó láàrin àwọn olòṣì ní Fìdípọ̀tẹ̀. That is the same rhetoric that people are still doing as diaspora. Ẹ lọ kọ́lé sáàrin àwọn tálákà. Wọ́n á máa wo náà nílé ẹ̀tì ẹnìkan pé ìwọ nìkan ló níná, ìwọ nìkan lébi òpa, and they will start dealing with you. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan sí from wherever you are watching the program. So these narratives then continue to spread across Yoruba land. Ẹni tó bá ráyè jápa tó bá ti gòkè díẹ̀ á padà lọ sílé, á lọ tẹ̀ sí wọn lójú. Tó bá máa fi tẹ̀ sí wọn lójú bí ẹ̀ẹ̀mejì, tó bá máa fi padà dé bíbá wà á complain pé nínú ẹ wà á dé hospital wà á gbé sí be the best MIR. Wọ́n ní rí nǹkan tó ṣe torí pé wọ́n ti sàṣẹ láti lé. That is what is happening. Torí pé nígbà tí wọ́n lọ́lé number 2 SDG goal which is end hunger, ó ti lọ tẹ̀ sí wọn lójú nílé. Ẹni tó ráyè jápa tó jẹ́ pé níwọ̀nba kékeré tó ní tó manage, ìyá lágbájá ẹ ṣe fún mi ní gààrí ọ̀fun ẹ̀ lẹ́ni, olọ́lọ́la ẹ fún mi ní gààrí wọ́n tún fún ẹ. Nígbà tó bá fi délẹ̀ kẹta àtàwọn sẹ́ á ní kí ló dé, àpò kan tá gbé wọlé àti fẹ́ jẹjẹ tán. Ẹni tó sọ fún yẹn á bínú torí pé ebi tó ń pa kò expect pé kò sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ sọ̀hún, kò dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé government gangan ni responsibility ẹ̀. Magi tó ń gbà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ neighbor ẹ̀, gàrí ẹ̀wà tó ń gbà yẹn, it is not my neighbor doesn't have to come and knock my door láti béèrè fún bread. I don't think I've ever had my neighbor knock on my door and say ṣé mo ní iyọ̀ nínú ilé, òun nídìí iyọ̀. I understand we have a culture where we like iyọ̀ kò no normally ó yẹ kí wọ́n mọ̀ pé iyọ̀ ti tán nínú ilé tiẹ̀ wà lọ ra iyọ̀ yẹn. So this is what is also causing a lot of friction within what is called the context of Nigeria today. Many of you knows this, but are oversighted. Tí ó bá tẹ̀ tán, okay, your Friday that Walata was here, we sat down. Mo ní kí ìyàwó mi, mo ní kí la máa jẹ, torí tí Walata bá ti dé, a gbọ́dọ̀ jẹun. It's not somebody that comes to this house and we don't eat. And we eat together in the same plate. Ìyàwó mi náà máa ṣe rice. Pé but kò sẹ́yìn nílé. Mo ní kò sẹ́yìn kẹ̀. Mo ní Walata ṣó fẹ́ jẹyin. Ó lóun fẹ́ jẹyin. Mo ní dà. Já bọ́ sí títì. Bí ìtẹ̀lówó púpọ̀ tí bá wọnú káàdì mi, mo ní, which is true. Some of you think that because we sit here, you think that, boy, you work on one account, especially because lójú yín, you dirty mind people, you expect that because we are sitting here, there's a kind of huge amount of money. I am losing money every blessed day. I've lost so much money in the last 2 years, but I'm not concerned. My name is better than the money because we are not going to be here forever anyway. We are all dead person in the next 200 years. My name will be part of the name that will be remembered for a very long time. And for me, that is big. Awólọ́wọ̀ ti kú nísìn àṣìndárúkọ ẹ̀. Tèmi náà bá ti kú in 200 years. Wọ́n á máa dárúkọ mi. So, bẹ́ẹ̀ mi náà ṣe máa ń rí Winston Churchill èrè ẹ̀. Do you know that the great-great-grandchildren are still happy that their great-grandfather did a project? Àwọn ọmọ Mandela inú wọn máa dùn. And that for me is enough. Doesn't mean that we don't need money. Mo wà account mi mo rí pé ó ṣe ní change kékeré. Walata ó jà bọ́ sí títì. Ká lọ rẹyìn. Ìyá ẹ̀ ti ń dáná. Mo gbọ́dọ̀ tún rán lọ rẹyìn. I will park into the high street. I bought the egg. Ara at the Iceland. Àwọn yẹn ti close. We walk to Lidl. Ara ẹyin. Mo mú milk. Ẹyọ kan. Walata náà náà fẹ́ milk méjì. Mo yá mu. Mo ṣe lè bẹ afford yẹn. Kò ń ṣe nǹkan tó pọ̀. At least ìwọ náà ṣáà ti jó epo mọ́tò láti wá kí mi nílé. Ìwọ náà mo mú sardine mẹ́ta. Ṣé mo pé sardine yẹn nínú ẹ̀ ni ìyàwó mi fi dé ẹyin fẹ́mi nìkan lánàá. Kò tẹ́ iṣẹ́ yín ó ṣe ọbẹ̀ ata. like sardine, they like sardine. So why am I explaining this is that hunger, which is the number 2 of the SDG goal, is creating friction for our Yoruba, because you now expect me to take care of you in Nigeria. You expect those in Nigeria that has a little bit to take care of you, when actually it is meant to be the system. Lekuma take care àwọn tí wọ́n ní, or àwọn tó fẹ́ ní tí wọ́n níṣẹ́. As a graduate, you have completed a university, but you are still wondering what you're going to start doing. Show mọ̀ pé ọmọ tó bí sí Louis by 22 ó pẹ́ jù 23 ó ti wà lẹ́nu iṣẹ́. Kódà kò bá jẹ́ the basic job, àfọmọ tó bá ti ready àkọ́kọ́ ṣeré holiday káàkiri náà, but èyí tó bá ti ready ó ti ṣetán ní university by 23 ó ti wà níbi iṣẹ́. Ibi iṣẹ́ yẹn ló máa wá máa sanwó oṣù fún. Gbogbo tí mo wá ṣe analysis just few minutes ago, a ní owó lọ́wọ́, which is the pounds táwọn náà ní bíbá. Nínú ẹ̀ tó bá ṣiṣẹ́ lóṣù tó gba 1,000 pounds roughly, ó bá sanwó ilé, because most of them wants to live on their own, especially at that age, as against you who wants to stay with your parents at the age of 40. You are not ready to go. Not that you don't want to go, you can't afford the face my face you ní Òṣòdì torí price yẹn ti lọ sókè, torí pé àárín ibẹ̀ yẹn ti dé ọjà. Not that Nigerian is still not bubbling, you know, life is still going on, but the poverty is inside. But in reality, people